we've encountered a slight issue. Woo, this sounds ridiculous! What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode on Proven Power Cycles. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Eric and I'm the tuner here at Proven Power Cycles, and today we got a Triumph Rocket3r. This thing is nasty. So now these bikes are new to Woolich Racing, the Woolich Racing products, just like how we did that Harley Davidson video. This bike is, again, a new product to Woolich Racing. So we're gonna do some testing. We had a buddy of ours up in Chicago, David Cole, Midwest Performance, I believe his shop name is called. Great guy, awesome guy, and we just saw yesterday that he got one of these done. So I thought it was pretty cool. I'm like, hey, shit, man, we're getting ready to do one too. So great results. I'm curious to see how this one comes out as well. I think it's gonna do really good. I'm super excited to start dipping into this thing and diving into it rather, and finding out what we can do to this. We have tuned these before on a different tuning platform. They came out good, but man, it was such a pain in the butt to tune it. I didn't really like it. Woolich kind of simplifies things. They make it really easy to tune. So we're gonna go through and we're gonna use this platform now, or use that software to get some good results out of this thing. So we're getting ready to baseline it. These things are monsters. So, and I know they're really restricted in the ECU as well. So it's gonna be really, it's gonna be interesting. You guys are gonna be in for a surprise. For those of you who haven't seen any of these rockets, get ready. I'm gonna blow your mind. Here we go. Alright guys, so we're about in the middle of the tuning with this Triumph Rocket3, and we've encountered a slight issue. Nothing crazy, but we're encountering an issue, and all the partial throttle, all that tuning is coming out great. Air fuels look good. We're not having any more hesitations on the bike. We're not having any more stuttering in the throttle, so there's a lot of stuttering at these partial throttles. So it's not always about the full throttle, not always about making the max power. These things are torque monsters. It made 139 foot-pounds of torque on the baseline, and it also made 134 horsepower. So it made 134 horsepower and 139 foot-pounds of torque just on the baseline alone. It's a monster, and it's not a super long wheelbase. So this thing's a rowdy ride, okay? But and I'll show you guys the graph here. I'll show you kind of where we're at. So for some odd reason, this is our original baseline, that red line here. And then now look, when we go to full throttle, look what's happening now. We're getting power, the ETV, so the electronic throttle value. It's actually, throttle is getting pulled out when we go to full throttle it. So air fuel is looking great. We have some little minor things to do, but again, the throttle is getting pulled out during the pull, so during a wide open throttle pull. Everything operates like normal on the partial throttle, like as far as throttle input, timing, fuel mapping, all of that stuff is taking our changes just fine. But we are having a slight issue now with wide open throttle. So we've opened the ticket up with Woolich. We're gonna see what they come back with, and we're gonna give the bike a little break anyway. We've been running it pretty consistently now for about an hour, so we're gonna give it a little break. We're gonna see what Woolich has to say, and then we're gonna keep chipping away. So anytime you do any of these new bikes, and this is a 2023 model, okay? Technically on Woolich's website, they don't even cover this, but the ECU part number ended up being the same as an older model, so we were able to do it. But anyway, guys, this is tuning. This is why I like to block off large sections of time now to tune these bikes. Years ago when I first started this, I used to try to get 3, 4, 5 bikes in on a day, and when things like this popped up, it created such a headache and such a nightmare, not only for me, but for the customers as well. I used to have people pissed at me because I had them all sitting here waiting on me while I'm trying to deal with issues on a bike, and it was just a hassle. So anyway, this is why I like to space out all my tuning. I like to take my time with them because of unforeseen issues such as these that do arise. And again, you work through the process, you get it figured out, so that way at the end of the day, the customer is gonna go home happy. And they're well aware, you know, luckily, now this bike is from a dealership. It's from Fun Bike out in Lakeland, Florida. So they kind of know the techs that they have that are bringing the bike, like they're well aware. They're very knowledgeable. They're smart guys. They know the process. They know the little nuances that kind of come with the pioneer state of tuning, if you will. So that's where we're at right now. We're gonna wait to see what happens with Woolich, what they come back with. I'm gonna reach out to Dave right now. Actually, he doesn't even know this, but get ready, Dave. So I'm gonna reach out to him, see if he ran into any issues as well, and go from there. So you kind of have to use your resources in this world to come up with solutions. So that's what we're gonna do now. Let's see what happens, and we'll update you guys here in just a second. All right, guys, so we got the Rocket3r all wrapped up. They took the bike. So we were having some issues with the software. There was a setting in the software that was limiting the throttle to 37%. We're not really sure why, but we reached out to Woolich. We kind of had a little back and forth. We started doing some testing. Long story short, we ended up getting the issue resolved. So, and Woolich is actually working. It was something in the coding, and they're going to work in the background to get that resolved for the future Triumph Rocket3s. So, and they said that they were having this issue on other Triumphs as well. So they're glad that they got a little bit more information from us, so that now they can kind of keep chipping away at correcting the coding. So, and having it not do that. So, but regardless, we've got it resolved. We figured it out. And you know, again, if you've seen my channel and you've seen some of my videos, you know that some of the tunes don't go perfectly smooth. And again, this is exactly why I don't like to put on a bunch. I used to pack on my tuning schedule, and I used to have so many people that would come in here per day. I would just try to bang them out and hit the volume. But you know, I've realized that with all these newer bikes and some of these newer platforms and all this, you kind of run into some of these little hiccups along the way. So, and Woolich Racing is getting bigger, and they're servicing a lot more bikes, so the demand just keeps getting greater and greater for them. So anyway, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but it's a lot of work to get through some of these things. But we got it resolved, and I want to show you guys the graph. Now, again, this bike just had the slip-on system, and I want to say that was it. So keep that in mind, but regardless, let's go over some numbers. So they came in making 134 wheel horsepower with basically 139 foot-pounds of torque, which is just, that's insane. That is so much torque. It's a 2.5 liter, by the way. It's a 2500 cc engine. It's an inline 3. For those of you who don't know what the Rockets are, they are monster bikes. They are, it's insane. I cannot believe you're driving a 2.5 liter. So, but that's what they baselined at right here, and that is our blue line. Let's highlight it here for you guys. There it is. So that is the blue line. There is our baseline. It wasn't a bad air fuel, to be honest with you. There wasn't a ton to touch up on full throttle, but partial throttle was atrocious. There was a top end. It got really rich top end, but that was about it. Partial throttle was really bad. I'll show you guys that here in a second. But the full throttle, it was a pretty good curve. Here's your horsepower, here's your torque, and they're pretty good curves all in all. They're actually really good curves. So not bad on the baseline at all, but And as you can see with our final, we basically follow the curve all the way up until the upper RPM range. It's more or less the same curve. We only picked up a couple of horsepower and a couple of foot-pounds of torque. Yeah, we picked up 3 foot-pounds of torque and about 2-3 horsepower. And that's really it down low going into mid-range. But look at this top-end power gain. We picked up, let's pick up something, yeah, here. We'll pick up 6750. So 6,700 RPM. We went from 128 to 161 wheel horsepower. That's insane. 33 horsepower gain and a 25 foot-pound of torque gain. That is monumental. That's insane for this bike. That's got to be incredible feeling. I can only imagine what that feels like on the road, to be honest with you. That must feel pretty wild on that bike. So anyway, we got the air fuel nice and cleaned up too on the red. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much straight line all the way across. We had a little lean spot here at 5K, and that was about it. So let's see here. Yeah, 13.7. That was about it. The rest of it looked pretty good, honestly. Yeah, 45 and 5K. So we added some fuel in there to correct that. But regardless, the curve is just pristine. So this was partial throttle. Now I just wanted to show you this, guys, to show that the full throttle, yeah, the full throttle looked great. But here's some of the partial throttle, okay? So I don't always take graphs on the partial throttle stuff. I do sometimes if I'm, like, again, I did this for you guys, honestly. I did this to show you guys this. But normally I don't really do partial throttle anymore. I usually just kind of go through it pretty quickly. I've been doing this for years, so typically I can analyze it pretty quickly and input my changes on the map, and I'm pretty much spot on afterward. But I wanted to take a sample of, this is about 10% throttle, and the red one is about roughly 20%, okay? 20% throttle and about 10%-ish throttle, okay? Give or take. So what I wanted to show you, though, is look at the throttle curve. See how the torque comes up, falls off, comes back, and then horsepower is just same kind of thing. It kind of has this weird pickup. So that indicates poor ignition timing mapping, and as well as it's a very lean air-fuel ratio as well. We're at 14.6, 14.7, 15.0 air fuels, 15.1. We're at a 14.8 over here, and this is getting into mid-range now. We're starting to get into mid RPM range. So we did a little touch-up in that area to kind of just help smooth it out. And in the red one, this is about 20% throttle. Same kind of song and dance. We have like a little weird curvature here, and a torque curve where it kind of picks up. Yeah, see, it kind of picks up, then it flatlines, then it picks up. So that's like an odd, it's a very odd feeling when you're driving. It's kind of more or less, I don't want to say it's a dead feeling because you're still gaining torque and power, but it's kind of like the bike will be pulling like normal, and then out of nowhere it'll just pull like a little extra hard, even though you're not rolling into the throttle. So same thing, we had a very lean air-fuel ratio going all the way basically to a yeah, I mean, we're getting kind of a higher RPM now, 5,500. So anywhere like cruising speeds, though, it's very lean, very choppy. It wasn't a good consistent throttle pull. So these are things that we fix as well whenever we're doing the full ECU flashing, or the ECU flashing and the full dyno tuning. These are a lot of the things that we fix whenever we're doing the tuning on the dyno. This is what changes basically per bike drastically, is all partial throttle stuff. I did not do a final because, again, this is like, it's hard to mimic or replicate exactly 20% and exactly 10% back to back. It's really difficult to mimic them exactly. So usually you get, now granted we would see a cleaner line, but you would get, the data would be skewed. So we might make a little less power, or we might make a little less torque, and then maybe the next time we're at like 10.5%, or 10.8% throttle. We're not at exactly 11, but it could be a little higher. So again, it kind of skews the data a little bit. It doesn't give you a very good like one-to-one relationship. So that's kind of why I don't like showing this to people sometimes, because they get confused, and honestly I don't like taking them down that road sometimes. I've noticed that the more I do this, I want to show you guys and teach you guys, but at the same time sometimes I kind of overwhelm some people with what I'm showing them, and I don't want them to get confused, because sometimes they're like, wait a minute, but I'm making less power now, or but wait a minute, this happened, and it's like, no, because it's not an exact like 10 versus 10, you know, it's kind of hard to explain it. Some people don't really grasp it right away, so it's just hard. It's like one of those things that you just have to see and you have to analyze, and the more you do it, the more you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. It's just one of those things, but I wanted to show you at least that it was running lean, and that was a lot. We fixed a lot of that too. Well, thank you so much for watching. You know, for those of you who stuck with us, like I said, those of you who follow this channel, you'll see like throughout almost every single video that we do on Thursdays, our tech videos, I usually try to teach you guys something or show you something that I haven't shown in the last video, to kind of keep it more unique and keep it interesting for a lot of you guys. So you know, thank you guys for the support. Also, thank you guys for watching. If you could, please give us a follow, a subscribe, and a like or comment on the video. Let us know what you think of the rockets. Let us know if you were expecting that kind of power, or at least that big of a restriction. I don't know, let us know if you have a rocket and if you like it. You know, we had a few guys comment on some of our shorts already that we took on this video, or on this bike, and they were like, oh man, my boys got one, we got a Carpenter build, and they run 880s, and it's pretty cool, man. Seeing stuff like that's pretty neat. So comment down below if you got it, show us some pride. I think they're cool bikes, honestly. I think they're really, I like Triumph, I like tuning Triumphs. I think they're really cool bikes, but you know, they're interesting, so they're different. But anyway, guys, thank you again. We really appreciate you guys. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you on another episode.